Have you ever done everything right and still got hit by a curveball you never saw coming? And have you ever wondered whether that curveball was destiny, karma, or simply life testing your ability to choose? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are stepping onto a topic that feels spiritual and practical at the same time. What happens when karma meets free will right in the middle of your path? Especially when life throws something unforeseen at you. I want to explore three big ideas with you in a way that feels grounded. 1. Karma is not a reward and punishment system. It is momentum. 2. Free will is real, but it often shows up in smaller moments than we expect. 3. Unexpected events are not just interruptions. They are crossroads where your next chapter is quietly decided. Let me start with a scene. Imagine your life is moving forward like a train on familiar tracks. You know your routine. You know your role. You know what you are trying to build. Then one day, something happens that does not fit the plan. A layoff, a health scare, a breakup, a betrayal, a sudden responsibility you did not ask for, a global event that changes the atmosphere of your whole year. You can almost feel your mind scrambling for an explanation. Was this meant to happen? Is this karma catching up with me? Did I do something wrong? Or is this just random? That moment is where people either become superstitious or cynical. They either decide everything is written, so there is no point trying, or they decide everything is random, so meaning is pointless. But there is a third way to see it. Karma as momentum and free will as steering. Not pawn or player. Both. You are inside conditions you did not fully choose, and you still have moments of choice that matter more than you realize. Here is the simplest way to frame karma without turning it into a cartoon. Karma is the imprint left by repeated intention and action. Your choices create patterns. Patterns create tendencies. Tendencies create a kind of momentum that influences what situations you are likely to enter and how you are likely to respond once you are there. Karma is not only what happens. Karma is what gets strained inside you. This is why two people can face the same setback and end up with completely different lives afterward. One becomes bitter, suspicious, shut down, and their world shrinks. The other becomes humbled, clarified, more compassionate, and their life opens in an unexpected way. Same event, different karma created in the response. Now, if karma is momentum, what is free will? Free will is not always the ability to choose your circumstances. Free will is the ability to choose your next move within the circumstances. It is the difference between reacting automatically and responding consciously. That sounds small, but it is the hinge point of a whole life. To make this real, I want to tell you a story. Not a perfect story, but a true-to-life one. His name was Marcus. Marcus was the kind of person who liked plans. He liked control. Not because he wanted power over others, but because control felt like safety. He built his identity around being steady, dependable, the one who handled things, the one who did not fall apart. At 37, Marcus finally felt like life was settling into a shape he could trust. He had a stable job, a partner he loved, a routine that felt efficient. He was not wildly happy, but he was safe. And to Marcus, safe was the closest thing to happiness he believed in. Then the unforeseen challenge arrived, and it arrived fast. His partner got sick. Not a dramatic movie sickness, but a real one. The kind that changes the texture of daily life. Appointments, uncertainty, waiting rooms, the quiet fear that tries to pretend it is not fear. Marcus did what he always did. He went into problem-solving mode. He researched, he scheduled, he organized, he stayed busy. He tried to control the uncontrollable. And for a while, that worked. He felt useful. He felt strong. But something started happening inside him. He began snapping at small things. He became impatient with friends. He lost interest in hobbies. He started waking up with his jaw clenched. He felt like the world was unfair and he could not say it out loud because it sounded childish. One night, after a long day, he sat alone in his car in a parking lot and felt a thought rise that scared him. I cannot do this. He did not mean he could not support his partner. He meant he could not hold the uncertainty. He could not carry the feeling that life could change without his permission. He could not tolerate the lack of guarantees. This is where the cosmic chessboard illusion shows up. When people talk about karma like a chessboard, they picture an invisible player making moves against them. Life moves first. You respond. Life moves again. You lose. It can feel like you are a pawn. Marcus felt that. He felt like the universe had singled him out. He started replaying old memories, searching for what he did wrong. He started bargaining in his mind, promising he would be better if things went back to normal. Then something subtle happened. A friend invited him to a small meditation group. Marcus almost said no. He was tired. He was skeptical. But he also knew his own mind was spiraling and his usual strategies were failing. So he went. The teacher that night said something that Marcus did not expect. You are not being tested to see if you can control life. You are being trained to see if you can meet life. That line went through Marcus like cold water. Meet life. Not win against it. Not force it. Meet it. The teacher continued. When karma shows up as hardship, the point is not punishment. The point is purification. What is being revealed in you? What is being strengthened in you? What is being released in you? Marcus hated how true it felt, because he realized the illness did not create his fear. It exposed it. It exposed how addicted he was to certainty. It exposed how much of his identity depended on being in control. It exposed how quickly he turned compassion into duty and duty into resentment. Now here is where free will entered the story. Not as a grand heroic decision. As a small shift, Marcus began noticing the moment his fear turned into sharpness. The moment his tiredness turned into blame. The moment his stress turned into emotional withdrawal. He started practicing one thing. Pause before the reaction. One breath, sometimes two. He would soften his shoulders, unclench his jaw, and ask a single question. What would a wise response look like right now? At first, it felt like pretending. But over weeks, something changed. The pause became real. The pause became space. And inside that space, he found choice. Sometimes the wise response was to rest instead of push. Sometimes it was to tell the truth instead of saying he was fine. Sometimes it was to ask for help instead of trying to be the hero. Sometimes it was to apologize quickly when he was sharp. Sometimes it was to sit quietly with his partner and stop trying to fix the moment. These were micro decisions. Small, ordinary, almost invisible. But they started changing the whole atmosphere. His partner felt less alone. Friends felt less pushed away. Marcus felt less trapped. Not because the illness vanished, but because the inner war began to end. This is the intersection of karma and free will. Karma brought the conditions. Free will shaped the response. The response created new karma. Now, a lot of people ask about breaking loops. When choice trumps predestination. Here is the hard truth. Predisposition is real. Momentum is real. Patterns can be heavy, but no pattern survives sustained awareness paired with consistent action. A loop continues because it is fed. You feed it with the same reaction. You feed it with the same story. You feed it with the same avoidance. You feed it with the same resentment. You feed it with the same self-betrayal. When you stop feeding it, it weakens. It does not always disappear instantly, but it loses its authority. Marcus began to see a deeper pattern that went beyond the illness. His whole life, when he felt fear, he tightened. He controlled. He intellectualized. He became efficient. And when that did not work, he became resentful. That pattern showed up at work, in family, in friendships. The illness simply made it impossible to ignore. So Marcus did something that sounds strange but is actually practical. He started treating hardship as training. Not in a toxic way, not forcing suffering, but using what was already happening as a path. This connects to the idea some people describe as burning through negative karma. That phrase can get misused, so let me ground it. Burning through negative karma does not mean you seek pain. It means when pain arrives, you meet it with conscious effort rather than unconscious reaction. You use it to dissolve old habits. You use it to develop patience, compassion, and clarity. You let suffering refine you rather than harden you. Service is a powerful part of this. Not because service earns cosmic points, but because service shifts the center of gravity from self-obsession to connection. When you help others from a clean intention, it reduces the ego grip that makes suffering feel like a personal attack. Marcus began doing small acts of service that had nothing to do with proving himself. He brought meals to another caregiver in the group. He checked in on an elderly neighbor. He listened to a friend without turning the conversation into his own stress. These actions changed him. They softened him. And as he softened, his life felt less like a chessboard and more like a living path. Now let us talk about the unforeseen crossroads, because this is where people feel most confused. Unforeseen events often feel random, but very often they are intersection. An intersection of your past momentum, other people's momentum, and the larger conditions of the world. And at that intersection, your free will still matters. Think about it like this. You may not choose the storm, but you choose how you sail. And how you sail shapes where you land. The unexpected forces you to reveal what you have been practicing. Under pressure, you do not rise to your ideals. You default to your training. That is why mindfulness matters. Mindfulness is training. Mindfulness is learning to notice the impulse before it becomes an action. It is learning to see your mind without obeying it. It is learning to feel emotion without becoming emotion. Intuition also matters here, but in a grounded way. Intuition is not always mystical. Sometimes intuition is the nervous system picking up subtle patterns your conscious mind has not labeled yet. When you are calmer, intuition becomes clearer. When you are panicked, intuition often becomes feared rest up as certainty. So the skill is to cultivate inner steadiness, so you can distinguish between true intuition and reactive anxiety. Adaptability is another key. People who navigate unforeseen challenges well are not always the strongest or smartest. They are often the most flexible. They can grieve what changed without clinging to the old plan. They can adjust without collapsing into resentment. That adaptability is free will in motion. And your choices do not only affect you. This is the butterfly effect inside collective karma. Your mood affects your family. Your family affects your community. Your community affects culture. Culture affects policy. Policy affects outcomes. One person cannot control the collective, but one person can stop contributing poison to it. This matters in 2026 and beyond because the world is moving fast. Systems are stressed. People are overloaded. The temptation is to become reactive and numb. But here is the empowering truth. When external uncertainty increases, inner practice becomes even more valuable. Because you cannot always stabilize the world, but you can stabilize your response. And stabilized responses create better outcomes, better relationships, better decisions, and better futures. So what can you do with all this? Starting now, I want to offer a simple way to apply it without turning it into a complicated project. When something unexpected happens, ask yourself 3 questions. What is the fact? What is my story about the fact? What is the wisest next action I can take? The fact might be I lost my job. The story might be I am doomed. I am worthless. Life is unfair. The wise next action might be breathe. Reach out for support. Update your resume. Protect your nervous system. Take one step. The fact might be someone betrayed me. The story might be nobody can be trusted. I will never be safe. The wise next action might be set Seek truth, protect yourself, and refuse to become bitter. The fact might be your plans changed. The story might be everything is ruined. The wise next action might be grief, then adaptation, then the next right step. This is how free will lives inside karma. Not as denial, not as forced positivity, as conscious creation. Now let me bring Marcus back one more time, because his story has an ending that is not perfect, but is true. His partner's health improved in some ways and remained complicated in others. Life did not return to the old normal. It became a new normal. Marcus did not become fearless. He became honest. He became more present. He became less controlling. He became more compassionate. Not only to his partner but to himself. One day he said something in the meditation group that stayed with everyone in the room. I used to think karma meant life was happening to me. Now I think karma means my response is happening through me. And that means I have choices, even when I do not like the option. That is maturity. That is agency. That is the dance between destiny and choice. So as you step into 2026, here is the invitation. Do not wait for perfect conditions to practice free will. Practice it in small moments. Pause before reacting. Tell one truth you have been avoiding. Set one boundary with kindness. Do one act of service without needing credit. Choose one habit that strengthens you. Release one story that keeps you trapped. Then repeat, because repetition becomes destiny. Now I want to hear from you. What unforeseen challenge are you navigating right now? And where do you feel the tension between karma and choice most strongly? And what is one conscious decision you are willing to make this week that might change the trajectory of your next chapter? If you want more long-form episodes like this, subscribe to the channel. Like the video so more people can find these conversations. And if you want to support the channel and help keep this kind of content coming, consider becoming a member. Ending words for you. You are not a pawn. You are not an all-powerful controller either. You are a conscious participant. And when life surprises you, the most powerful move is not to panic, but to choose.
There comes a time when you realize you want something that belongs just to you. Something that brings comfort and keeps you connected to your inner world. Wall-crafted bracelet does exactly that. Quietly, softly, and consistently. If you felt drawn to any bracelet in this video, you'll find the purchase link in the video description and many more auctions in the channel's storefront. Because sometimes the smallest item can bring the biggest sense of peace.